In today's video, I'm going to show you how to bake sourdough bread in a Pyrex dish, just like this one. If you don't have a Dutch oven for bread baking, no worries, because today I'm going to show you two different ways that you can use a Pyrex dish to bake bread. The first method is baking in a cold Pyrex dish. Now I've got 2 loaves of bread that have been rising in the fridge overnight. If you want to bake the same recipe that I'm using, there is a link in the description, and at the top you can use the same recipe that I do. Then go ahead and pull out a piece of parchment paper that's a little bit bigger than your dough, just a little bit bigger than that Banneton basket. Transfer the dough from the Banneton basket onto the parchment paper. Just flip it out just like that. Then you can brush off any excess flour or rub it into the top of the dough like I'm doing here. Now it's time to score the dough before we transfer it into the Pyrex dish. So get out your dough lame or your razor blade. And go ahead and just score one long slash at a shallow angle from the top of the loaf to the bottom, or from front to back, or back to front, whatever it is, one long slash. And then you can carefully lift the dough by the parchment paper and transfer the whole thing, paper and all, inside of the dish. Now my oven has been preheating to 450 degrees Fahrenheit for about a half hour, so just keep that in mind to preheat your oven about a half hour before you're ready to bake. Then go ahead and transfer the dish directly into the middle rack in the oven and bake it for 20 minutes with the lid on. "20 minutes later, take the lid off, and that's going to release the steam that's inside of the Pyrex dish, and then continue baking the bread for another 20 minutes with the lid off. Then 20 minutes later, the loaf should have some nice color on it. You can keep baking it until it's as dark as you would like it to be. You can go ahead and remove that from the oven and let it cool for about an hour before you slice into it. Now for method number 2, I'm going to show you how to bake in a preheated Pyrex dish. You can really use either method, use the dish when it's cold, or bake in the dish when it's already hot. Both ways work fine, but I think you'll see that there are some slight differences in how the 2 loaves of bread turn out. So for this method, just put your Pyrex dish in the oven when you're preheating it for a half hour, then take it out, transfer your bread from the Banneton basket onto the piece of parchment paper, following the same steps as before. Again, you can brush that excess flour off or rub it into the dough, depending on what look you're going for. Then just score the dough with one long slash with the razor blade from the far side to the near side. Then very carefully this time, transfer the dough with the parchment paper and all into the hot Pyrex dish. Now the benefit of preheating the dish is that when you put the dough onto the hot surface, it's going to get a little boost in oven spring when it bakes. So you'll follow the same process as in method number 1. You're going to bake this for 20 minutes with the lid on, and that's at 450 degrees Fahrenheit or 230 C. And 20 minutes later, time to remove the lid and release that steam, and I am super happy with this loaf of bread. It already is looking very similar to the loaves that I bake inside my regular cast iron Dutch oven, so I'm really happy with that. And then continue baking for another 20 minutes with the lid off to get that nice color on the loaf. And 20 minutes later, hopefully your loaf looks something like this. I'm going to let these cool for about an hour, and then I'll come back and show you what one of these looks like on the inside. I want to show you these 2 breads side by side. This first one is the one I baked in a cold Pyrex dish, the first method that I showed you. And it definitely looks like the bread was ripping open at the seam a little bit. I'm not sure what exactly to attribute that to, but I do know that this one, the one I baked in the hot, preheated Pyrex dish, looks exactly like it came out of my cast iron Dutch oven. So this is definitely the one I like better, Both methods will work for you. It's just a matter of, do you want to bake in a cold dish, or do you want to preheat your dish in the oven before you bake with it? While you're looking at the crumb, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful, and if you want to learn how to make better bread, sourdough, and pizza at home, click the subscribe button to subscribe to the Grant Bakes YouTube channel for new videos every single week. This is Grant from GrantBakes.com, and that was how to bake sourdough bread in a Pyrex dish. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.